Amazing Billionaire's surprising test of a poor girl revealed her incredible kindness that transformed everything. Amelia pushed her cart down the narrow aisle of the grocery store, her heart heavy with fatigue, a lingering consequence of the late-night shift she had just finished at the diner. With her hands busy stocking shelves, her mind wandered, caught in an unrelenting cycle of bills, groceries, and her grandmother's fragile health. Every dollar counted, and the weight of the struggle was a constant reminder of her purpose: to provide a better life for the woman who had given her everything. She overheard a mother scolding her child for wanting yet another snack. The child's face crumpled under the pressure, and Amelia felt a pang of familiarity. She had been that child once, facing disappointment after disappointment. The thought propelled her forward. Helping the frail figure that relied on her was her lifeline. Yet all that kept her going was her college scholarship, a flicker of hope above the chaotic tide of obligations. As Amelia stocked the cereal shelves, her gaze caught a man lurking at the end of the aisle. He looked out of place among the everyman routine, dressed well but with a guarded demeanor that hinted at something deeper. Curiosity prickled at her. She leaned in slightly, adjusting a box of oatmeal. She hadn't anticipated a stranger's eyes could feel like a pressure cooker boiling over with hidden intensity. Despite her instinct to deflect his gaze, their eyes locked for a heartbeat longer, and something within her fluttered uncomfortably. What if he is not who he seems? She wondered, brushing the thought aside. A knot formed in her stomach as the clock ticked away the moments she could use for study. Just then, he approached her with a slight hesitation, hands stuffed in his pockets. "Excuse me, do you have any suggestions for a snack? I'm on a budget." His voice trailed off, uncertain. Amelia felt the weight of her own financial constraints wrap around her. She hesitated, recalling the half-eaten sandwich she had left in her lunch bag. Which wouldn't be enough for a day filled with work ahead. I have a sandwich," she blurted, then felt her heart race, an impulsive urge pushing her forward. What was she doing? It was her last meal of the day, only hours away from another shift. "Are you sure?" he asked, genuine disbelief crossing his features. She nodded, almost defiantly. "It's not much, but if you need," he accepted her offer, and their fingers touched as they exchanged the sandwich. A simple act, but it was made in an instant of pure impulse, one that took hold of her heart and wouldn't let go. Yet in the back of her mind, doubt crept in. Was she making a foolish mistake? Balancing the sacrifice of her meager resources against the weight of her responsibilities felt like an insurmountable tug-of-war. Before she could dwell on her doubt, the intercom barked, calling her away. "Amelia, we need you at the service desk." The urgent tones snapped her back into her reality, leaving behind a feeling of unfinished business. Suddenly, the emotional chaos escalated. The generous impulse clashed against the grim reality of her impending financial woes. What if she lost her scholarship? She could already hear the dismissal in her professors' voices if they believed she couldn't balance work and study. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Amelia navigated the busy store, unease settled into her bones. What if the kindness she had displayed led to everything falling apart? Churning thoughts twisted her stomach into knots. At the same time, she couldn't shake off the man's gaze that had held something stirring within her, both radiant and terrifying. Without any warning, murmurs spread through the store about unethical business practices at Ethan's company. Suspicious rumors tainting everything she held dear. Whispers about financial aid problems filtered through school halls, trickling down to scholarship review boards. With no context, could a casual act of kindness spiral into devastation? Tension mounted like a tidal wave, threatening to crash over her. As she entered the break room, the weight of her choices consumed her. How much longer could she balance this facade of normalcy? In that moment of sheer desperation, she realized one thing. Her life was standing on a fragile thread, and the man who had unknowingly entwined their fates was nothing short of a wild card. Would he be the savior she never knew she needed? Or would he be the harbinger of catastrophe that loosened the fragile grip she had on everything? The thought hung heavy in the air, whispering of both hope and impending loss, leaving her in a whirlwind of undeniable uncertainty. As Amelia sat in the break room, her heart was racing, thoughts darting like fireflies in the night. What had she done? The sandwich exchange felt like an echo of something greater, a reverberation of her choices amplified by the pressure of needing to keep her world intact. The man's incredulous gratitude still lingered on her skin, sparking an inner conflict she could no longer ignore. She needed a plan. As her fingers toyed with the edge of her napkin, a sudden conviction solidified within her. This moment of kindness, pivotal as it was, could represent more than just a reckless decision. It was a reflection of her character. Digging deeper into that instinctive desire to help others might unlock new paths for her own life. Perhaps there was a lesson she had yet to learn about sacrifice, not just as a burden, but as a gateway to connection. Amelia, her supervisor's voice cut through her thoughts, jolting her back to reality. We're understaffed tonight. Can you pick up an extra shift after your classes tomorrow? Instinctively, she felt a surge of panic. I have classes until 5:30. She stammered, mentally calculating if she could weave the threads of work and study tighter without unraveling her scholarship. That's fine. Just come in after. We really need you. The supervisor's uninhibited need was a weight that pressed down on her shoulders, relentless and demanding. Okay, Amelia replied, though internally she grappled with the reality of more hours added to an already frantic schedule. What had she gotten herself into? As she left the break room, her mind whirled. Picking up that extra shift would mean less study time. But more hours meant more money, which provided some semblance of stability. It felt exhausting just to think of the cycle continuing, spinning faster and faster. Each day merged into the next, battling against time for the sake of her grandmother. Yet, beneath that fatigue lay an ember of tenacity, awakening. What if working more hours would allow her to explore something she had never dared consider? She could consider changing her major. Maybe something more practical, more financially secure. Business management, marketing. There were practical careers out there waiting for hard workers like her, if she could only harness this flickering drive as the night wore on. The familiar clink of pots and chatter enveloped her at the diner. The mundane sounds felt oddly comforting, offering a backdrop that reminded her of why she pushed herself so fiercely. Each laugh, each shared meal between tables, resonated with the intricate tapestry of life. All those moments stitched together, the kindness she had shown today could ripple out and lead to valuable connections. Then her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number illuminated her screen. Hey, it's Ethan. Thank you for the sandwich. Can we meet? I'd like to discuss something with you. Her pulse quickened. Ethan, the man whose presence had shifted something inside her, now wanted to talk. What could he possibly want? An opportunity? Or was it a mistake? A misstep she'd made that he was about to reveal. With heart racing, Amelia weighed her options. Did she have the energy to see him? Was this a chance to redefine her circumstances? Or would it push her deeper into uncertainty? Determined, she pressed her lips together and replied, Sure. When and where? The uncertainty of his request danced in her mind, a dizzying spiral of hope and anxiety. Would this be just another twist in her journey? Or a pivotal moment that could alter her path entirely? Each decision felt heavier, like stones added to a well-constructed wall, or conversely a bridge stretching out before her. And in that moment, she couldn't help but wonder what awaited her on the other side. Amelia awoke the next morning with a knot of anticipation spiraling in her stomach. The conversation with Ethan loomed over her like a storm cloud, casting both shadows and flickers of light across her day. She had committed to her additional shift, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something larger hovered on the horizon. As she navigated her classes, the typical drone of lectures faded in and out of focus. Like a ship's captain peering into the fog, she felt an inherent misalignment between her surroundings and her thoughts. Every equation and theory seemed trivial compared to the uncertainty of what awaited her later. What if Ethan's proposal offered a glimpse into a new beginning? One that might intertwine with the goals she had yet to even articulate to herself. Between classes, Amelia grabbed an iced coffee at the campus cafe, her fingers tapping out a restless rhythm on the counter. She sought clarity in caffeine, yearning for answers that remained just out of reach. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. A message from Ethan. "How about we meet at the park? 4 p.m. Relief mingled with a fresh dose of anxiety. It was a doable time, yet the casualness belied the weight of its potential. What was it he truly wanted? The hours inched by painfully, each tick of the clock a reminder of her growing impatience. Could this be related to the sandwich? Was it a mere thank you? Or was there a deeper motivation? A business proposal, a promise of mentorship, or something utterly unexpected lurking in the folds of his request? Finally, her shift at the diner arrived. As she moved deftly between tables, her thoughts still wrapped around Ethan, she noticed how the familiar routine grounded her. Each order taken and each joke shared with customers acted as a temporary balm to her swirling thoughts. Isolation kicked in after the last diner had left. Then she caught sight of her reflection in the grease-specked mirror, an embodiment of exhaustion. Yet with a spark flickering in her eyes, the ember of determination she had unearthed grew in strength with each passing hour. After a long, grueling shift, she felt half-crazed yet oddly invigorated. There was more beneath her surface than she had previously acknowledged, raw potential waiting to be drawn out. Still, she took a deep breath, wanting to carry that energy into the meeting with Ethan instead of letting doubt override it. Arriving at the park, physical exertion fell away, replaced by nervous energy. The hypnotic pull of nature surrounded her, and she could hear laughter in the distance, a reminder of serenity. Ethan was already sitting on a bench, silhouetted by the golden stage of the setting sun. "Hey, Amelia," he greeted her, his voice rich but tinged with something vulnerable. "Hey," she replied, her heart racing again as she settled beside him. Their eyes locked, and it seemed in that moment, before he spoke, the air thickened with significance. "I wanted to talk to you about a project I'm working on," he began, and Amelia steadied herself on that bench, ready to embrace whatever opportunity he unfolded. In a twist of fate, she sensed the undercurrent of personal ambitions morphing into mutual potential. This was it. Yet, the new tension that simmered beneath the surface was undeniable. What were the implications of this new venture? Would she be stepping into something greater or simply into another spiral of demands that risked overshadowing her studies and commitments? What awaited her in this crossroads could define her path. Would she seize this opportunity for growth, or would she falter under its weight? Only the unfolding dialogue could reveal the destination. Ethan took a deep breath, preparing to navigate the conversation that would decide both their fates. "This project could really use your insight. It's centered on community-focused entrepreneurship, and I believe with your background in marketing, you could help shape it into something impactful." His words hung in the air, and Amelia felt a shift within herself. No longer was she merely a waitress or a student existing within the constraints of her current life. For a fleeting moment, she saw herself as a key player in something larger, her ideas merging with Ethan's vision. Community-focused, like improving local business through sustainable practices? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Each phrase flowed from her with unexpected ease, revealing her innate desire to contribute even beyond her own life. "Exactly," Ethan said, excitement igniting his voice. "We can create a model that not only drives profit but also fosters a sense of belonging. The traditional approach isn't working anymore. We need adaptability and creativity. And who better to infuse that than you?" Flatteries, though pleasant, couldn't mask the reality she faced. "Ethan, while I appreciate the vote of confidence, I'm juggling a lot right now. School, work, will I even have the bandwidth for this?" Doubt crept into her consciousness, with every worry surfacing in sharp relief against the thrill of the opportunity. "I wouldn't ask if I didn't think you could handle it. Besides, that's part of the learning process, right? It's about pushing your limits, discovering what you're capable of," he said, his tone coaxing and sincere. The call to self-discovery was intoxicating. Wasn't this precisely the kind of challenge she needed? Yet, lurking beneath her intrigue was a sense of trepidation. What sacrifices would she have to make? Time away from her studies, her precious hours of downtime? Taking stock of herself, she recognized a shift. What if I fail? She whispered. What if this only burdens me? Then you learn, he replied without hesitation. Growth doesn't come without risk. But think of the potential. How many people could we inspire? How many business owners could we empower? As he spoke, Amelia noticed his confident demeanor. The fervor behind his vision was palpable. His earnestness seemed to beckon her toward a clearer version of herself. The realization was startling. She wanted this not just for the success it promised, but for the growth it could ignite within her. Okay, I'm in. But we need to outline everything. I can't just leap without a plan, she asserted, this time with conviction brewing in her voice. The knot in her stomach unraveled slightly as she acknowledged her own capacity to contribute meaningfully. Ethan smiled, and in that moment, she felt a buoyancy, a sense of camaraderie and mutual ambition swelling between them. The conversation turned into a brainstorming session, ideas bouncing back and forth with surprising fluidity. Amelia found herself energized, articulating thoughts she never knew she could express so passionately. It was as if each word was chiseling away at the insecurities that had silently blocked her potential. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the world with shades of purple and orange, a realization coursed through her. This wasn't just about the project. It was about reclaiming her agency, taking control of her narrative. When they finally wrapped up their discussion, Amelia felt a sense of purpose coursing through her. Until now, she had been the quiet observer, the girl working in the shadows of others. But, embarking on this journey with Ethan felt like embracing the person she hadn't yet fully become. One step at a time. As they stood to leave, Ethan tilted his head inquisitively. What are you thinking? Nothing yet, but I feel like I just took the first step down a path I didn't even know existed, she admitted. The unfamiliar exhilaration settled in her bones, an awakening of sorts. Would she be ready to face the challenges ahead, confront any pushbacks, or potentially endure failures? Tomorrow, let us start sketching the framework, Ethan proposed, an almost playful challenge in his tone, igniting the spark of ambition in her heart once again. Amelia nodded, resolve tightening in her chest. I'm ready. Let us see just how far we can take this. But while she stepped forward, the horizon taunted her with uncertainties in the distance. Had she truly embraced this opportunity, or was she merely trading her old chains for new ones? As they made their way out, that question loomed larger than ever, and the true weighting of her decision was yet to fully settle. A potent mix of excitement and dread coursed through her veins, setting the stage for the trials that lay ahead. What unforeseen challenges would test her newfound resolve as she aimed to master a world she had yet to navigate? The following morning, Amelia woke with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension swirling in her mind. The project with Ethan loomed like a vast landscape before her, both beautiful and daunting. As she rolled out of bed, the sunlight spilling through her window felt different, charged with potential, prompting her to embrace whatever came next. Her morning routine was a blur. With caffeine coursing through her veins, she prepared to face the day. She couldn't shake the anxiety gnawing at her insides. Today would not only be a day of planning, but a day that would lay the foundation for who she was to become. Dressed and determined, she hurried to meet Ethan, fueled by a drive she hadn't fully recognized until now. When she arrived at the cafe where they agreed to meet, she found Ethan already seated at a corner table, an array of notes and a laptop spread out before him. The sight ignited a blend of inspiration and pressure. Her mind flooded with thoughts on how to contribute meaningfully. As she approached, he looked up, his expression genuine and welcoming. Great to see you, he said, beaming. Ready to roll our sleeves up? His enthusiasm electrified the air, but also magnified her fears. What if her ideas paled in comparison to his? What if she stumbled over her words? What if the excitement faded once reality set in? She wanted to prove herself, but with each step toward the table, the weight of expectation pulled at her resolve. Absolutely, she replied, mustering a confident smile as she settled into her chair. The outlines of tasks began to fill the blank spaces in her mind, the excitement of something new battling the familiar shadows of doubt. Amelia grabbed a pen and started jotting down ideas as Ethan sparked discussions about potential outreach strategies. Each point he raised felt like a puzzle piece, and slowly, she began to fit her ideas alongside his. She proposed community workshops to educate local business owners about digital marketing and sustainable practices they could adopt. It surprised her how naturally these concepts flowed from her mind, as if they had been dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Yet, beneath her growing confidence, a persistent tension hung around her. Was she truly ready for this responsibility? Would her input be valued? She continued to speak and sketch out plans, her voice igniting with every bullet point discussed. In that moment of creation, she felt alive, a sense of belonging enveloping her. As the session intensified, a sudden wave of realization hit her. This project wasn't merely about entrepreneurship. It was also about bridging the gap between her insecure past and the ambitious future she envisioned. With that realization came a poignant moral dilemma. Was she fully prepared to embrace the critics, including the inner voice that questioned her abilities? Toward noon, as they took a break, Ethan leaned back in his chair, eyebrows raised in contemplation. "You're bringing new energy to this. I can see your background in marketing shining through." "Thanks," she said, feeling warmth bloom in her chest. But even as she accepted his praise, she wrestled internally. Was this newfound spark authentic confidence or merely a facade? She challenged the lingering doubts. Could failure be as transformative as success? "Ethan," she began, hesitation swirling around her words. "What if this doesn't work? What if I can't handle it? Or worse, I let everyone down?" He leaned forward, locking eyes with her, seriousness overtaking his usual excitement. "The important part is not whether we stumble. It's that we keep going, adapt, and learn from each twist and turn. That's where the real growth happens." His conviction resonated in her, a reminder that vulnerability could be a strength, not a burden. Maybe this was the moment she needed to redefine what success meant for her. Just as she began to feel the weight of those realizations lift, Ethan received a message on his phone. Eyes narrowing, he looked at her, face suddenly serious. "I need to take this. This big something I didn't expect to drop today." Amelia watched as he stepped away, curiosity gnawing at her. Was it personal, or was it something that could impact their project? The anxiety returned, sharper than before. What was about to unfold? As she sat alone, the possibility loomed. What unforeseen obstacles might this phone call present? Would this test her resilience and creativity, or would it unravel the momentum they had just built? The clock ticked, shattering the silence, and a familiar thought pulsed in her mind. Growth demanded confrontation, but could she rise to the occasion when the real challenges began to unfold? Amelia sat in the quiet cafe, the vibrant noise of laughter and clinking cups around her becoming a dull hum. Thoughts swirled like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind, dislodging her focus on the task at hand. With Ethan's absence, the reality of their project began to settle heavily upon her. Every tick of the clock reminded her that progress required more than just ideas. It demanded action, conviction, and the courage to confront any barriers that might arise. As she glanced at the half-filled notebook, an unexpected determination surged within her. She needed to seize this opportunity, not just for Ethan or the project but for herself. This was a chance to sculpt her identity, to mold the contours of her professional self, and she wouldn't let uncertainty clip her wings. She reopened her notebook, examining the jotted phrases regarding outreach strategies. There was potential there. Her ideas intermingled with Ethan's thoughts resembled a flickering flame, ready for a spark to ignite them into tangible actions. Before she could dive in further, her phone chimed with a notification. It was a message from Ethan. "Sorry for the delay. Something major just came up, and it's going to take longer than expected. Are you okay to keep brainstorming?" His words instigated a knot of anxiety in the pit of her stomach. "Keep brainstorming," he had said. But what if he meant without him? What if this was a chance for her to take control? But she faltered. Taking a deep breath, she realized that this was precisely the test she needed. She needed to act, not merely react. Amelia gathered the scattered papers around her, constructing a mind map of action points. With each line she wrote, her confidence began to swell. Community workshops, online courses, targeted marketing approaches. Ideas bubbled forth, connecting, expanding. The door chimed, and she looked up to see Ethan returning, lines of stress etched on his face. "Sorry about that. Major client issue." His breath came in quick bursts, yet his eyes searched hers for reassurance. This was a pivotal moment, and she felt it coursing through her veins. "We can handle it," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "While you were gone, I laid out our next steps and ways to address potential roadblocks. It's crucial we adapt quickly to setbacks." The words spilled out, each syllable grounding her purpose. She was not waiting. She was leading. Ethan's expression shifted, the flicker of respect illuminating his eyes. "I knew you had it in you," he said, pausing to take in the meticulously crafted notes before him. "All right, let us dive into your ideas. What do you suggest we prioritize?" The discussion flowed effortlessly, a rhythm emerging as they exchanged thoughts. He leaned into her suggestions, adding his own insights. For the first time, the collaboration felt balanced rather than hierarchical. While she had once feared becoming overshadowed by Ethan's experience, she now realized they were partners navigating the landscape together. Each idea they developed fortified her understanding. Advance through collaboration, communicate assertively, and assert her value. As they wrapped their session, a new challenge loomed on the horizon: how to confront any potential criticism, especially from those in positions of power. The lingering tension of vulnerability surfaced again, the nagging voice cautioning her against opening up. Yet as she looked into Ethan's earnest face, something profound settled within her. Growth thrived in the fullness of uncertainty. Before they parted, Amelia faced him, resolve firming around her. "Let us run our proposals by some of the local businesses next week. I want to get real feedback, even if it stings. That's how we'll learn and adapt." Her heart raced at the audacity of her proposition, a challenge against her own hesitations. Ethan's surprise was palpable, quickly followed by an approving smile. "I love it, brave and necessary. You're stepping into your power." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, Amelia felt the shift within her, the anchor of self-doubt lifting. Buoyed by a growing tide of ambition, she was no longer just a participant in this project. She was a driving force, unwilling to settle for passive acceptance. However, as she left the cafe, that unmistakable tension returned. While she stood poised on the precipice of boldness, she wondered just how far she could push herself. What if she stumbled in the real world? What if her newfound confidence was merely a facade, ready to be shattered by outside criticism? With those thoughts spiraling, Amelia realized she was on the brink of something significant. Would her first real step into bravery lead to the transformation she craved, or would it expose her vulnerabilities in a way she couldn't anticipate? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows against her path, she understood one thing with clarity. She was ready to embrace whatever challenges came next, but those challenges were closer than they appeared. The call for feedback loomed, and, in this new chapter of her journey, she still had to confront the formidable critics of her creative offerings. Amelia faced the stark morning sunlight piercing through her apartment window, illuminating the energy swirling within her. This day was pivotal. It was not merely a step forward, but rather a leap into the unknown. As she donned her blazer, although her heartbeat quickened at the thought of facing the local businesses, a competitive edge whispered encouragement in her ear. This was her moment to translate preparation into action. The scent of fresh coffee filled the air, mingling with the anticipation brewing inside her. Yet, doubt lingered, a subtle shadow cloaked in the corners of her mind. What if her ideas were met with judgment? What if they dismissively chastised her ignorance? Each what if left a residue of apprehension, prompting her to glance at her notebook once more for reassurance. The lines she'd written felt like threads linking her courage to tangible possibilities. With Ethan by her side, their first stop was a small, family-owned cafe. The owner, Ms. Vargas, greeted them with warmth, but business acumen danced in her glance, skeptical yet intrigued. Amelia was acutely aware of every pair of eyes on her as she presented their proposal, the rapport she'd crafted with Ethan amplifying her own sentiments. The words flowed from her, articulating the vision with fervor. But as she explained their outreach strategies, Ms. Vargas's expression shifted. "I like the ideas, dear, but are you sure you understand our community's needs?" For a moment, Amelia's confidence wavered, a crack forming in her composure. The truth was, with every suggestion, she felt the weight of responsibility press down harder. Her mind raced, piecing together an adequate response, and she realized that this was her chance not just to defend her ideas but to open herself up. "I want to learn," Amelia replied, her voice steady despite the surge of vulnerability. "I respect the history this cafe holds within the community, and I'm here to partner with you, not to impose. How can we tailor our approach to serve better?" The question hung in the air, defying her initial hesitation. Ms. Vargas's demeanor softened, curiosity piqued. The conversation continued, revealing layers of the cafe's operations, the souls behind every cup of coffee. In that moment, Amelia understood asking the right questions not only invited collaboration but built bridges of trust. The subsequent businesses echoed similar themes of skepticism and curiosity, testing her resolve. Yet, each constructive critique became a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. With Ethan's constant encouragement, Amelia dug deeper, adjusting their strategy on the fly. She watched as old fears slipped away, replaced by shared enthusiasm. They thrived on the feedback, embracing it as a tool rather than a threat. By the end of the day, her heart raced with a mixture of fatigue and exhilaration. The weight of doubt transformed into newfound assertiveness. Amelia realized that each critique was a lesson, her confidence forged through exchange rather than isolation. But as they made their way home, a nagging thought circled back, a reminder of her earlier fears. Could her growth withstand the pressures of those who held sway over potential funding, those critique-laden colleagues she avoided? Could she continue to express her worth despite the looming shadows of hierarchy? With the dusk settling in, Amelia replayed the day's encounters, understanding the distance she'd traveled. The obstacles were growing, but so were her skills, leading with transparency and humility. She'd learned to carve space for herself amid disarray, but the biggest test lay ahead as the evening enveloped her. A call from Ethan broke her reverie. "We have an opportunity to present to some potential investors next week. Could change everything." The thought ignited a familiar thrill, intertwining with her earlier apprehensions. She was stepping closer to the pinnacle of her journey, but the dance with uncertainty was far from over. Would she face the looming prospect with assertiveness, or would the specter of intimidation render her words ineffective once more? Determined to solidify her voice, she realized she needed more than confidence. She needed a strategy to confront those who questioned her every decision, challenging the very foundation of her emerging identity. As she contemplated this new hurdle, Amelia felt the electric pulse of potential radiating through her. Was she truly ready to amplify her voice in a room filled with skeptics? As the days marched toward the investor presentation, Amelia immersed herself in preparation, her office space cluttered with notes and market research. She scrutinized data sheets and client responses, her mind racing to anticipate questions she might face. Each click of the keyboard ignited a craving for clarity, yet the deeper she delved into strategy, the more fragmented her confidence felt. Amelia often caught herself staring at the untouched pages of her notebook, the once comforting quotes and reminders now alien. The looming moment with investors seemed to morph into a monolith of intimidation, a daunting structure beckoning her to climb yet threatening to crumble beneath her feet. Ethan's unrelenting support provided a steady pulse of encouragement, yet with every idle moment, her insecurities threatened to drown out his optimism. "If only I could be like them, so polished and assured," she mused internally, comparing herself with the seasoned investors she'd watched in videos. Visibly composed, wielding influence with effortless charm. Each evening, as the shadows stretched in her apartment, Amelia ran through possible scenarios in her mind. The questions she should expect, the metrics needing emphasis. One night, she found herself at the kitchen table spilling her doubts to Ethan. What if they dismiss everything we present? What if they see me as just a girl with ideas, not a visionary? Ethan countered, you already have the proof of your impact, Amelia. The businesses responded to you, not just your ideas. They saw potential and you did that. You have something meaningful to offer. His words were a bomb, yet they were also a mirror, enforcing an unsettling truth. She needed to believe it to internalize her worth. She could no longer rely on external validation alone. It was time to cultivate a self-assured presence. Searching for new strategies, she attended workshops and scoured articles, seeking advice from business leaders. A persistent thread in her reading stressed the importance of storytelling, of wrapping data in narratives that resonated emotionally. Engage minds through hearts, she absorbed, and it struck a chord within her. That night, Amelia sat down and began to craft a narrative that painted her journey, not just the benefits of the proposed strategy but her own evolution. She wove together personal anecdotes from her interactions with the community, layering them with statistical benefits. Bit by bit, she transformed her proposals into stories, each one a chapter of connection, resonating with human experience. With each draft, the narrative became clearer, growing in structure and resonance. Her passion echoed through the pages, revealing the key. She wasn't just selling a service. She was proposing a partnership rooted in understanding and respect for the local tapestry. Days bled into nights, the atmosphere thick with anticipation as the date of the presentation drew nearer. When she stood before the mirror one day, Amelia practiced her pitch, her reflection revealing not just her nerves but also a glimmer of conviction taking shape. The hesitation in her voice began to dissolve, replaced by a steadiness that surprised her. And yet, doubt still nagged at her. A whispered question stirred in the dryness of her throat as she envisioned the room filled with industry veterans. What if they dismissed her story? What if they interrupted her, lacking patience for a narrative and preferring only data? The morning of the presentation descended, heavy with anxiety and the thrill of potential. Amelia dressed meticulously, adjusting her blazer, aligning herself for battle against both external critiques and her inner fears. As she stepped out, the world felt alive, each honk of a horn, the chatter of passerby, a reminder of the connectedness she'd fought to ignite in her community. Determined to turn anxiety into energy, she envisioned not a confrontation, but an invitation to show them that amid the statistics lay real people, real aspirations. The conference room loomed ahead, and with each step she took, the excitement built within her. Amelia reached for the door handle, the sound of her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Would she transform this nervy anticipation into the vibrant connection she longed for, or would she falter in the face of established giants? With her heart pounding, she pushed through the door, stepping into her moment, prepared to discover whether the pain of her doubts would yield to the promise of her journey. The conference room buzzed with a palpable energy, a sharp contrast to the knot tightening in Amelia's stomach. The polished wood table radiated authority, and the sleek chairs beckoned industry giants seated around its perimeter. As she took her position at the front, Amelia felt the weight of expectation pressing against her chest, yet she forced herself to exhale and center her gaze on the audience. Good morning, everyone, Amelia began, her voice steady despite the tremors beneath. I'm excited to share how our initiative can not only benefit your investment, but create meaningful change in the community. She launched into her pitch, unfurling her story like a map leading toward the heart of her vision. With each statistic she presented, she wove in personal anecdotes, the faces of the people she met illuminating the abstract data. Their struggles emerged vividly before the investors' stories of resilience, dreams intertwined with challenges. The once daunting statistics transformed into narratives filled with human connection. Yet, just as she reached the heart of her presentation, an interruption startled her. One of the senior investors, a stoic man with piercing eyes, raised his hand with an air of authority. While these stories are compelling, how do you expect us to believe in these outcomes? Show us the numbers, Amelia. Shock rippled through Amelia, her heart racing anew. Doubt threatened to creep back in, akin to a shadow lurking at the edge of her consciousness. She had anticipated questions. She had prepared for critique, yet in this moment her confidence wavered. But my stories, she began before pausing, realizing the need to adapt. Indeed, the numbers are crucial, she replied, drawing on the techniques she had practiced. Let me show you how they align with the needs we've identified. Amelia flipped to the slides outlining projections and growth metrics, deftly integrating the stories with the numbers, creating a narrative that captured not only potential profits but real impact. Encouraged by her own agility, she leaned into this new challenge, intertwining data with personal triumphs. Each figure became more than a number. They represented collective aspirations and opportunities grounded in authentic experiences. The atmosphere shifted, her passion tangibly resonating with the investors, drawing them closer to her vision as the presentation proceeded. She observed nods of approval and the unblocking of previously furrowed brows. In that moment, she realized that she had not merely been fighting for acceptance. She was inviting engagement. She wanted them not just to invest their money, but to invest their belief in her, in the community, in the vision forged from shared experiences. Wrapping up, Amelia felt buoyed by a sense of accomplishment she had scarcely recognized before. The investors peppered her with questions, and instead of distress, delight bubbled within her. Each inquiry deepened her narrative, and as she responded, clarity surged, blending confidence with conviction. Your commitment is commendable, the stoic investor finally acknowledged, an unexpected warmth softening his edge. Let us discuss logistics and partnerships further. Amelia left the conference room buzzing. Every step away from that table felt lighter, more purposeful. She had confronted her doubts, navigated obstacles, and emerged not just unscathed but illuminated. For the first time, she felt anchored to both her ideas and herself. Yet as she exited the building, the exhilaration of success was countered by a new wave of uncertainty. With potential partnerships on the horizon, the reality of expectations loomed. Would she have the tenacity to sustain this journey? Heading home, her mind whirred with possibilities intermingled with apprehensions about her next moves. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Amelia glanced at her phone. A message from Ethan read, "I'm so proud of you. Can't wait to hear how it went." Her heart swelled, but alongside pride was a flicker of fear. The next steps would come with their own challenges, both personal and professional. Would she continue to thrive amid heightened stakes? Ahead lay a path promising triumph but also laden with tests of her resilience and intuition. What awaited her in this new chapter of ambition, where shadows of doubt would again threaten to rise? Amelia took a deep breath, ready to plunge forward. The next challenge was only beginning. Amelia stood at the edge of her small apartment balcony, gazing at the skyline that sparked with life against the coming twilight. Life had been different ever since she embraced the collaboration with Ethan and embarked on the project they had nurtured together. No longer was she merely balancing work shifts and coursework. She was now investing in her future, confronting obstacles with tenacity and clarity. The invigorating potential of their enterprise ignited her spirit as she reflected on how far she had come. Months had gone by, filled with presentations, sleepless nights, and back-and-forth exchanges with business owners who had once been skeptical. Each interaction was a thread that wove her deeper into the fabric of the community, as she embraced every constructive critique, allowing it to shape her vision. And now, cemented in this newfound agency, her ideas had evolved into a coherent business model that was gaining traction. At last, the moment she had been waiting for arrived. The final presentation to a panel of investors that had the power to launch their collective vision into fruition. Sitting in her favorite cafe, her heart pulsed with anticipation. She reviewed her notes, her confidence bolstered by the lessons learned through every challenge she had faced. Breathing deeply, she understood that the fear she had once harbored was eroding. With every meeting, she had grown adept at weaving stories into hard facts, using both to engage her audience. She envisioned standing once more in front of investors, their scrutinizing eyes turned into lenses of curiosity and respect. She recalled the discussions she had with the local business owners, the stories she had captured from them, each one breathlessly waiting to be shared with investors who could breathe life into their ideas. As she entered the conference room, Adorned in a smart blazer that felt like armor, she felt a solidarity with her journey. This was not merely a presentation. This was a culmination of research, dedication, and growth she had achieved through hard work and perseverance. She had taken risks, believed in her potential, and emerged more formidable than before. "Good morning," Amelia began, each word escaping her lips steady and strong. This time, she felt no hesitation. "I'm thrilled to share how our initiative will not only yield profitable returns, but foster genuine connections within our community." The room buzzed with energy, and she could see interest igniting in the investors' eyes as she melded her intuitive grasp of their needs with the data that demonstrated projected growth. From metrics showcasing market trends to the heartfelt narratives behind why this initiative mattered, she felt herself transforming the conversation into a passionate call for connection. She was not just pitching a business. She was advocating for a vision steeped in human experience. Each moment felt electric, her resolve radiating with authenticity as she wrapped her presentation. One of the senior investors, previously skeptical, leaned forward. "You've clearly demonstrated profound understanding. If you can deliver on this promise, I believe our partnership could indeed reshape local entrepreneurship." The words lingered in the air, a validation of her journey, a reminder that her sacrifices and hard work had culminated in this pivotal moment. Leaving that conference room, a weight lifted off her shoulders, replaced with exultation and renewed purpose. Not only had she triumphed in presenting her vision, but she had also proven to herself that she was capable of navigating the complexities of the professional world. She had conquered her fears and validated her worth through determination and collaboration. Stepping back into the sunlight, Amelia felt transformed. The city lay before her, vibrant and full of possibilities. Recognizing that this was not the end, but rather a new beginning, she embraced the opportunities ahead. She had established a position not just as a participant but as a leader, a pivotal figure capable of visualizing change amidst adversity. As she walked home, messages from other community businesses popped up on her phone, expressing gratitude and eagerness to join the initiative. That powerful sense of belonging enveloped her once more, and for the first time since her journey began, she began to see herself not just as a girl striving for a better life, but as an architect of her reality. In those quiet moments of introspection, she realized the true accomplishment, demonstrating that through vulnerability, connection, and a willingness to embrace challenges, she could create a ripple of transformation that extended far beyond her individual aspirations. Looking out at the skyline, she smiled, aware that each challenge ahead would only fortify her sense of competence and belief in her ability to achieve. So much lay before her still, and she was ready to meet it. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.